So this is a tutorial on how to use the script that I put together to help laser cut your models and to help assemble them. So in the file, you can see that these pieces are nested and ready to get laser cut, and they've already been laser cut. And these individual pieces here correspond to where they belong in the model. So after I get this laser cut, I can put this sheet in front of me and I can say that this piece goes here and it attaches to this piece, which is somewhere. I believe it's that. I have a couple surfaces there. It works, I promise. This one only has one surface, I believe. Group, here we go. All right, so if I'm wondering where this goes, then I can go for group. I've done this example a couple times trying to get it as easy as possible, so that's why it's kind of a mess in here. But that is the general idea of it, is that everything is ready to get laser cut, and then once it's cut out, you know exactly which piece goes where in the model. Now, to open Grasshopper, go ahead and type Grasshopper in your command file, and then take this file that I've provided right here and just drag and drop it in. And if you don't have OpenNest, it will prompt you to install it now, and so it's super easy. Now, to make these crazy little paper models, you have to prep your model, and you have to Control-Shift-Click all of the surfaces that you want to laser cut. Now, you can do this so that way you don't have to deal with the tops, the edges, the insides, any weird geometry you might have in there. So imperfect models are perfectly able to be laser cut. No worries with that, just model quickly. You don't even have to worry about modeling that cleanly. You can see that I have some like crazy stuff right there, and that it really doesn't matter. So just go ahead and grab all those surfaces that you want to laser cut. We're just going to do the envelope here, and then the command you're going to use is dupe border, which will dupe the border of all those things. I'm also going to grab my little reference square here, and I'm going to move this. If you are not done working on it, then I would copy it, so that way you know where your lines already are, and you can keep your bounding box square there for stacking your model like I've done here. I've stacked all of my floors of my paper models together, so that way I know where my windows go. So this window goes there, and so on and so forth. That's really up to you. Next, I'm going to highlight all of my curves, and I'm going to type in planar surface. And this is my paper model. I'm going to delete my curves, otherwise they will be laser cut, and that is not what I want. Next, I'm going to take my surfaces and I'm going to join them. Then I'm going to merge all coplanar faces, and that makes them just really clean and nice. And then I'm going to re-highlight that, and I'm going to explode them. And I explode them because if you don't explode them, then they unroll. So these will hinge out, and you will need to cut on a piece of paper that is long enough to cut all of these connecting edges. But if it's exploded, then they can sit in any which way. And it doesn't matter if they're connected because they're grouped, so you know where things live. Now I'm going to copy one of my papers over here. This is where it's important to know what your scale is. So I've used a bounding box to determine what my scale will be. So I took my whole model and did bounding box, and then I scaled that box to multiple different scales. I started at 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot and went down to 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot, and then I just made it so that the box would fit in the prescribed size for my model. That's how I decided on my scale. Now for your paper size, this is a 28 by 20 inch paper, and that's what fits in my laser cutter. So if it's 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot, then 1 inch equals 8 feet. And this is 28 inches by 20 inches. So the size of the paper in model scale is 28 times 8 and 20 times 8. Now you can make this smaller, so that way you're not cutting on the edges of your paper, and that I always recommend doing. Now if you're going to do that, remember 1 inch equals 8 feet. So if you want an inch of area, then you're going to have to move this in 8 feet. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to do -8. So now we have an inch of breathing space on all sizes. So we're not cutting off the paper at any time. Now in Grasshopper, we're going to take these containers, which are these little things that I've named planar surface from model and paper, and these containers hold geometry. Now to hold the geometry in Grasshopper, highlight what you want to be referenced. You're going to right click planar surface from model. You're going to set multiple breps. Breps are just various geometries. And then you can click your paper. Let's do 2 pieces of paper just to show you that it's possible, but you can do 1, 2, or a million pieces of paper. Does not matter. I'm going to highlight both of them. I'm going to click on paper. I'm going to right click on paper, set multiple geometries, and that is done. It's already done. That's the whole thing. And you can change the rotation. This on a bunch of tiny pieces like the windows, the rotations can be really important to make sure you're using just the least amount of material possible, especially with that super expensive acrylic. And once you're satisfied with your rotations, and you can even mess with this placement, it goes up to, you just move the slider. Your spacing will make it so that there are gaps. And I wouldn't recommend that because you want the laser to work as quickly as possible, since you generally have to pay by the minute. But when you're ready to bake it now in Grasshopper, there are no real objects. Oops. Nothing is like in Grasshopper and select, or in Rhino and selectable, so you can see that I can't do anything with this all. There's nothing there until you bake it. Now to bake it, you will click on what you want to bake, and we have to bake the group and only the group. Otherwise you're going to have multiple geometries and you don't want that. So click on the layer that you want to bake it onto, click on your group, use your middle mouse button to bring up this wheel and click this bake button, and you're done. You're ready. Everything looks great. It's perfect. And it's exactly from your model, because it is your model. It will be referenced, and I'm so happy that this works because it saves like 10 hours per model. And then once you're done with that, just go ahead and go to top view, Control Shift, highlight all of this so that way you're not getting everything, and then make 2D. Put this right above my handy dandy reminder and select that, and this is still in the same orientation, so this is, once you print this out, it's right there to reference. So grab all that stuff, file, export selected, Adobe Illustrator, example file. Let's spell that correctly this time. Save. 8 feet equals 1 inch. I feel like I've said that 10,000 times. This is when we scale it. So hit OK, go to your folder. I believe that this will be in Laser Cut. Example. Open it on up. Now first, artboard 28 by 20 inches, because this is the size of the material that goes in my laser cutter. Now grab your stuff and just pop it on. And we have lots and lots of breathing room here for our stuff, so we're not going to be cutting on any edges. And then delete your original bounding box so you don't have to cut it, and you're done. And export that to whatever you use to laser cut, and that is that. Super easy 10-minute tutorial on saving 10 hours of time.